But they are finding that there's footprints of Osama bin Laden at different places in connection with the case. In fact, one of the people they detained yesterday is a person who had links to a relative of Osama bin Laden, and that is one of the reasons why they are holding that person as a material witness in this investigation, Ted.
Now the feds are telling us one of those people was arrested on a material witness warrant. Who that person is or what they know, we don't know. Well, despite all of that, things are starting to get back to normal here at JFK and other New York City airports, as normal as things can be after being attacked by terrorists who hijacked 4 airplanes and killed thousands of Americans. Air traffic is continuing to pick up. However, the terminals are still quite bare. Airport buses are up and running, but most are running around nearly empty. Surprisingly, most of the people we spoke to didn't seem too concerned about flying. They just want to get home or go on vacation, wherever they're headed. One man I spoke to was trying to get home to Israel. Said he'd had a tough week. Told me he'd been to the World Trade Center on Tuesday morning. He went to the top. He came back down and was walking away. Then he heard an explosion.
A man who authorities call a material witness has been arrested. It is the first arrest to be announced in this probe.
Matt, good morning to you. That man arrested when he had false identification in New York. Authorities not satisfied with his answer, so they're holding him as a material witness. But as for what federal officials consider one of their hottest leads, it's the detention of 2 other men stopped on a train. Investigators believe they may have important information about the terrorist support network.
Pete, I want to go back to the one person who was arrested here in New York. Is it my understanding that that is the same person who was arrested on that plane at JFK on Thursday during that incident that we thought was irrelevant?
Taken off the plane, that's right. They don't believe that he posed any risk. They're not detaining him because they believe he intended to do anything illegal on that airplane. The reason is they still are not satisfied with his explanation about why he was getting on the plane. The problem with his identification papers doesn't add up, and they are not at all satisfied with the answers he's giving investigators.
Investigators have made the first arrest in the case. It's someone who is nabbed at JFK Airport. Now, yesterday we told you that Senator Biden said that none of those arrests were related. Turns out one was, and that person is in custody, considered a material witness.
At the time, authorities considered him to be relatively harmless, but they were still bothered by the fact that his identification papers for his pilot identification didn't seem to add up. But he is being held on this material witness warrant because they believe he may have information and he's just not telling them anything.
Law enforcement sources say investigators say that there is an ever-widening circle of people that they have on a watch list, and they believe that there were other planes that were supposed to be hijacked or other targets hit, but somehow those planes were thwarted when some of the planes were also kept on the ground or detoured. In addition, the man arrested in New York on a material witness warrant, sources say, was trying to pass himself off with a pilot's license issued to his brother. As you said, he's seen as very important. Now, there are others being sought connected to Texas and to other flight schools in Florida, especially in the Vero Beach area. In addition, there was also a man with French-Algerian documents who is being tracked by authorities near Boston in the summer, according to sources. Authorities won't say if he is in custody, but he is being seen as connected to this case. In his apartment, authorities say, according to sources, that they found aviation material on Boeing planes and also that he was attending flight school.
Who Eileen O'Connor is really talking about is Zacharias Moussaoui, who is actually of Moroccan descent. Let's see what the status of his detainment amounts to.
They're being looked at. There are things, but they could be coincidences. So we must warn you that this is very fluid.
But there's no question about it. This act will not stand. We will find those who did it. We will smoke them out of their holes. We will get them running. And we'll bring them to justice. We're taking a variety of measures to make sure that the American people are safe, just as the Attorney General spoke about. But we hope, obviously, that the measures we take will allow the American economy to continue on. I urge people to go to their businesses on Monday. I understand Major League Baseball is going to start playing again. It is important for America to get on about its life. But our government will be on full alert, and we'll be tracing every lead, every potential, to make sure that the American people are safe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
John, more on the investigation?
Yeah, here's the latest right now. A total of 25 people have been arrested on immigration charges as this investigation continues into the horrific attack. None has been charged, but some of the detainees are cooperating. All of this from a government official who wants to remain anonymous. Still only one arrest directly related to the attack. That's a man in New York whom the FBI detained at JFK Airport on Wednesday. They say that he's associated with the brother of Osama bin Laden. The man arrested is the one detained Wednesday. He had his brother's pilot's license in his possession, and he is now described as a material witness.
I'm joined by Joe Cantamesa, who is a retired special agent with the FBI. He was involved in special operations in the New York office in 1993 when the World Trade Center was bombed. Michael Cherkasky is president and CEO of Kroll Incorporated, a private investigation company. Michael was also a prosecutor in the first World Trade Center bombing case. Michael, I want to go to you on some of the news that we have today, and that is that 25 people have been held on immigration violations, in addition to the fact that one person has been arrested as a material witness. Does this mean that we have 26 of the people involved in all likelihood?
Not necessarily, Dan, but it does mean that we have people who, in fact, we have suspicions of, and we have, conveniently, we have a number of different, both civil and with material witness, criminal types of actions that we can take to detain these 26 people.
But you can only hold them for a certain amount of time, right? On immigration violations, you better find out more quickly, or they have to be released.
Right. We have 72 hours on the 25 and an indeterminate amount of time on the material witness. So we've got to act quickly, but it was sufficient to hold things in place as we develop more information, which we're doing.
So, Joe, how do you think that they came up with these 25 names? I mean, obviously we don't know, but what would you speculate they have on these 25 people? How did they go about finding them?
Well, certainly the massive and immediate assault by the FBI agents and their professional support staff to track down and identify all the lead material that immediately surfaced.
These are names that you think came up, that a neighbor, a friend, an associate, a receipt, somehow led to these people? Or are these people who, very well could just be someone who might have crossed paths with one of these people?
Well, of course, that is a possibility, but I would expect that most of the information that led specifically to these individuals came from that immediate and startup of interviews and investigative efforts.
Well, the second warrant, Joey, was issued in New York. It was issued for material witness, but that person is not yet in custody. There is only one other material witness so far in this case, and this was a man pulled off of a jet Thursday at Kennedy Airport. He was found to have fake pilot's ID. Now, Justice Department spokesman Mindy Tucker is saying we're at a point now where there will be more frequent and additional warrants.
Iraqi President Saddam Hussein has issued an open letter to the U.S. urging the administration and its allies to avoid the use of military force in response to Tuesday's terrorism. Saddam says, quote, "America needs wisdom, not force." He asked, quote, "Will the rulers of America try wisdom just for once so that their people can live in security and stability?" Saddam says he doubts the White House would respond violently if the attackers were from a Western country. His letter continued, "Just like your beautiful skyscrapers were destroyed and saddened you, beautiful buildings and homes dear to their peoples were damaged in Lebanon, Palestine, and Iraq by American weapons, some of them used by the Zionists."
Britt, the Justice Department says that we're at a point where there will be a flurry of warrants. Just a minute ago, just about 5 minutes ago, the agency said that a second warrant has been issued for a material witness in the case. This person so far is not in custody. And officials say another man viewed as a material witness who was served with an arrest warrant yesterday afternoon is the same man who was taken into custody Thursday night at John F. Kennedy Airport in New York.
An additional arrest warrant has been issued for what they're calling a material witness. Now, this is the second time the federal authorities have issued one of these arrest warrants.
Tonight you're going to see something that nobody else has seen. And tonight it's all about justice, because we need your help to catch the bastards who did this.
Day 5 of the investigation, and federal agents now confirm that at least 25 people are being detained in connection with the attack. Some are being held merely because it appears they're in this country illegally. But others, sources say, are getting a closer look. including the 2 men taken off a train on its way to San Antonio the day after the hijackings. In their possession, investigators say box cutters, hair dye, thousands in cash, and unused airline tickets. Sources now confirm the 2 have been flown to New York for further questioning. And the FBI would also like to know more about this man, 33-year-old Zacharias Moussaoui.
As you can see, some familiarity with the official version starts to surface with the detainment of Zacharias Moussaoui. But there will be much more to explain and correct about Ayub Khan and Mohammed Asmath ahead.
Dozens of people have been temporarily detained for questioning. This is the largest investigation ever mounted by the FBI, drawing in police from every state. At New York's JFK airport, a man described as a material witness was detained after giving a false identity. Another 2 were taken off a train in Fort Worth, Texas, allegedly carrying knives and a large amount of cash. And a further 23 are being held on immigration charges.
While at New York airports, anyone even remotely suspicious was yanked off of planes.
Move back, move back. America's Most Wanted special, America Fights Back, is the last time the first 2 Middle Eastern men arrested from LaGuardia Airport are shown, but now with their faces blurred.
U.S. federal prosecutors in New York have issued a second arrest warrant in the case and expect to issue several more. 1 man was arrested earlier this week. He's described as a material witness. 25 other people have been arrested for immigration violations and are being questioned about their possible connection to the case. 2 men were arrested in Texas after a disturbance on a train.
There's been 1 arrest so far. An unidentified man detained at New York's Kennedy Airport Tuesday night is now in custody as a material witness. Meanwhile, 25 people have been taken into custody, some on alleged immigration violations. They are among 100 people that the FBI say they want to interview.